Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Dave. I'm a licensed podiatrist. I'd like to thank you for watching my video on my Frugal Foot YouTube channel. I have a box of Epsom salts with me today, and we're going to go over how to use Epsom salts correctly. The best thing to do when you have a product like this is to read the back of the box. Interestingly enough, did you know that Epsom salts can be used as a laxative? The vast majority of what's written on the back here is how to use it as a laxative. We're not going to discuss that part because that really doesn't relate to feet. Instead, we're going to go right down to the bottom, and it says, for external use as a soaking solution. Now, I think a lot of people really are familiar with Epsom salts because they like to draw a warm bath and sit in it and soak. And that's fine. You can do that. Be careful, especially if you're soaking your feet, because if you have a loss of sensation like neuropathy or diabetes, you can actually make the water too warm and burn your feet. So you need to do this with supervision. Be very, very careful. Another thing that you have to be cautious about is that Epsom salts will dry out your skin. And that is one feature of Epsom salts that we'll talk about in a second. But if you're going to use this over and over, if you're going to do a lot of soaking, make certain that afterwards you hydrate your skin. Use a very good cream afterwards. Apply that to your feet. That way you can rehydrate the skin, because you don't want to end up with a lot of dry skin that's cracking and causing any kind of bleeding cracks. Okay, below that it says, for minor sprains and bruises, dissolve 2 cups of Epsom salt per gallon of water. Use with warm water for best results. I rarely recommend using Epsom salt soaks for minor sprains and bruises. If you have a minor sprain or bruise, you're probably better off following that pseudonym RICE, R-I-C-E, which stands for rest, ice, compression, elevation. What are you doing? You're resting it. You're trying to get the swelling down, right? If you sprain your ankle, you want to rest it. You want to ice it. You want to put it maybe like some sort of compression on it and elevate it. Well, if you use Epsom salts in warm water, you're doing the opposite. You're actually making the injured area warmer, which is going to bring more blood there and make the swelling increase. So I usually don't recommend using Epsom salts for that application. And lastly, and this is not on the box, Epsom salts works very, very well as a drawing agent. So if you have a wound that is weeping or draining, you can actually dry it out by using Epsom salts. Now I got to put a little asterisk here. If you yourself have a wound, you need to be seeing your own doctor. That is first and foremost. Do not follow the advice on this video without going over it with your doctor first and having their permission, because there are going to be little idiosyncrasies that may need to be addressed, and it may change the application for Epsom salts. So I urge caution. But I'll give you an example. Suppose you have a toenail that's damaged, maybe it's lifted up a little bit and it's weeping and you want to dry it out. Well, you can't get a sponge in there or some sort of tissue in there to absorb the moisture, but soaking it in clean water with Epsom salts can help draw out that fluid and dry the area out. So there are potential applications where Epsom salts work very well for that. So those are pretty much the ways that Epsom salts can be used. I do have my favorite Epsom salt, and I made a video on that. I'll leave a link to that below the video. I think that Epsom salt would be a great gift for somebody who likes to just soak in Epsom salts just for, like in a bath or something like that. But I'll leave a link to that video below this video. But this stuff, otherwise, you can get generic versions of it. I think I got this at Walgreens. Very, very inexpensive. Probably something that's pretty valuable to have in your bathroom vanity closet. So, well, I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I'm Dr. Dave. I'll see you on my next video.